on my last video regarding the Gospel of Thomas saying 11, I'd like to add to that. Because he says, what will you do? It's talking to the individual, because the Bible is actually about human physiology and human psychology. There's astrotheology there as well, or astronomical knowledge, which I'll get into at a later date. But I'm not. I don't know much about that. I'm a bit of an infant when it comes to that. But they're saying, what will you do? Now, the Gospel of Thomas is not actually in the Bible. It was removed because it reveals a great deal. What will you do? The individual, not groups. It's a narrow path. And it's a narrow path because only one person fits on it, you. And that narrow path, incidentally, is inside you. It's not on the left, it's not on the right, it's not the duality, it's central. That's the narrow path. It's also found represented symbolically in the yin and yang. And it's where the black and white meet, you see the path. Yea, as I walk in the valley in the shadow of death, your rod and your staff comfort me. Now, the rod and the staff is symbolic of the electromagnetic energy. It's the kundalini, and where it crosses over, light is formed. It's electromagnetism is the mother and father of light, and that's physics. So the emphasis is, what will you do? Now, John, he was on the island of Patmos, and he said, I must decrease, he must increase. So your ego intellect becomes less and your higher self becomes more. And this is a transition. It's a journey, it's a path. And it's a way. Jesus said, I am the way. So if a way implies a walk, a journey, a progression. Whereas the Apostle Paul said, we will be changed in the blink of an eye, implying no effort at all. That's why Christianity is the laziest religion ever. It's just lazy. Give the Muslims some credit for putting some fucking effort into their bullshit. But the Christians put little or no effort into theirs. It's the biggest cop-out. So, it's a way, it's a progression. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And all you have to do is keep your house clean and meditate. That's it. And it will come to you. How long will it take, Danny? How long is a piece of string? We are all individuals. Some of us have greater burdens than others. Some have no burdens at all. We're all different. And yet we're all the same. But it's overcoming the illusion of the mind. And once you realize it's an illusion, it loses its power. Just like in The Wizard of Oz. Don't look at the man behind the green curtain. That's what that film's about. Dorothy in Canvas, the tornado. The tornado is the Kundalini. That's what it is. And she's on the journey, the narrow path. And she's guided by Tonto or Toto, the dog. Guided by the God, backwards, you see. It's all there. The Wicked Witch of the East. That's the whore of Babylon, the confused subconscious mind. Okay. All right. So what will you do? It's about how you respond to what you're hearing and responding to your own intuition. You go to school and you receive tuition. They take the in out. It's time to restore your intuition. And then you will be guided from within. Okay? Have no doubt about this. The Exodus is in full effect. Right then, where are we? That's right. Book of Thomas, saying number 12. The secret sayings of the occultist, Jesus. Occult means hidden. And he's your higher consciousness. And until you reach into your higher consciousness, these things will be hidden from you. So I'm giving you a bit of a shortcut. But then you'll have knowledge, but you haven't had the experience. Knowledge and experience begets wisdom. Wisdom. Wiz means wise. Dom means master. Wise master. Okay, so you need to respond. Clean your house. Meditate. The disciples said to Jesus, now the disciples, 12 of them, they are symbolic of the 12 cranial nerves of the brain, and symbolic of the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 tribes of Israel. We know that you will depart from us. Who is to be our leader? Jesus said to them, wherever you are to go to James the righteous, for whose sake heaven and earth came into being. Ooh, who's James the righteous? Now the names have been changed. Now James the righteous. Now in the beginning of these scriptures, it talks about James. These are the secret sayings which living Jesus spoke and which Judas Thomas wrote down. Now Judas has become James, but trace it all the way back, it's Yahuda. And Yahuda means related to Yah. Yah is the symbolic name of the universe consciousness. So you need to go to James the righteous. So where is he? It's your own higher consciousness. Didymus means twin. It's Greek. So it's your higher consciousness. It's your twin. It's your raw consciousness before your ego arrived on the scene. It's the original you. It's your first love, the one that you have forgotten. That is James the righteous. So how do you go to him? You meditate, and you will be guided from within. Your intuition will guide you. And as you're being guided, you'll do things that your ego won't agree with. You'll find yourself in a quandary, and you'll make drastic changes and little changes. This is why the journey is difficult, because you'll do things that you'll question. But there's an overwhelming intuition that you have to do these things. And then after the fact, dawn rises on Marblehead, and you'll start to understand, because the ego intellect is always playing catch up. This is why Jesus said, when you are giving alms, the right hand should not let the left hand know what it is doing. Now the right hand is symbolistic speech for your subconscious mind, and the left hand is symbolistic speech for your ego intellect. So your subconscious, your divine feminine, will be doing things for you. But the left hand, your ego intellect, won't know what it is until after the fact. And then you'll get it. You'll have epiphanies. You'll have eurekas. And they're very private, they're very personal, and you'll be shown things. But it's only pertinent to you and nobody else. It's a narrow path. It's an individual journey. I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm having my own journey. You have yours. I'm merely telling you what these simple scriptures mean so that you can chew the cud like a clean animal and then part your hoof and go your own individual way. You see how simple it all is. Now, giving alms is charity. This is not about giving money to the poor. This is about you making an offering. Imagine it like this. The universe is your father, and nobody visits him. Nobody pops up on his radar to say, hello. Can you imagine how disappointing that is? To pop up on the radar, you have to clean your body out so it will function as nature intended at a higher level. And to get in tune with the universe, the Father, you have to turn off that babbling monkey mind that is always on permanent send. Yap, 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 babble, babble, babble. And you do that in alms, by giving charity. You meditate. And when you turn that off, you are then open-minded. Things can get in. And it goes into the subconscious and it reveals itself to the ego with the passage of time. And as I've explained, then you'll have these moments where you'll have clarity, a degree of clairvoyance, huge amounts of intuition. And initially, it will knock you sideways. You might think, fuck, I'm losing my mind. That's not such a bad thing, because the mind is not in charge, although it likes to think it is. It's a servant that has noticed that the boss isn't doing very much, so it's taken over, when in fact it should be just a servant. That's all the ego is. It's a servant. Nothing more, nothing less. And, where was I? And James the righteous, for whose sake heaven, that's consciousness, and earth, that's your body, came into being. Being. Are we human doings or are we human beings? It's a simple question. We've become human doings. We rush backwards and forwards and we're just doing things, not thinking, not really being in the moment. The moment means mind. MO, modus operandi. The mode of operation of the mind. Not watching what the mind's doing. Not eating what's put before us. But when you're in the moment, things reveal themselves. It's when you're in the moment that you are a human being. But if you're caught up in the stage of life, washed about with it, then you're a human doing. So you have to be mindful. And it's difficult, but that comes with meditation, because what you experience in meditation filters into your daily life. If you was to meditate, let's say you're a hectic person. If you have a desk that's a mess, 10 pounds to a pinch of shit that your head is a mess as well. But if your desk is orderly and tidy, then your mind is probably orderly and tidy as well. But it's good to turn the mind off, because we've all got problems. But when you get to turn the mind off, then you're open-minded. Things can come in and solutions just present themselves. Now, it's not like you receive a voice in your head that says, right, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's an intuition. It's an intuitive thing. And it starts off with, in my case, some of the things that I used to do, a mild discomfort that increased over time to the point of immense agitation, to the point where I fucking hated what I was doing. As it says in the scriptures, do not do what you hate. And this is how your inner teacher works. It will keep exposing you until you finally get it. And then you respond and walk away from the things that are not good for you, that are not in keeping with higher consciousness. It's that simple. And when you walk away from those things, all the shit that went with it just falls away. You've left it behind you. You've stamped the dust off your feet and you've moved on. You've progressed. And that's what it's about. But it's about responding. It's about responding to that intuition. And it's painful sometimes. Causes a lot of upset, not just for yourself, but other people as well, other people that you might care about a great deal. But it's part of it. That's what makes it difficult. But it all pans out in the end. And this isn't about faith. Your journey might start with faith, but it will progress into a knowing. You will know. And when you know, that can't be taken from you. And when you know, there's nothing else to know. Books, seminars, YouTube videos. I share these videos and this stuff so that people can understand it for their own betterment. And even bigger than that, I seek no validation for it, and I certainly don't seek money for it. It's free. It's so free, in fact, that you can't even give it away during the day, because people have to find it for themselves, and it's inside you. Everything happens inside you. Nothing happens out there. Nothing. Nothing at all, ever. It all happens in here. Everything. So this is where we need to rule. You need to rule your kingdom. And when it's going shit out there, you can chuckle, because you're nonplussed by it, because your kingdom is sound. It's operating as it should do. And your mind is enlightened. It knows things. It has wisdom. It is not walking alone. And because the mind is decreasing, the higher self is increasing, and that will reassure you. Let me explain the rapture to you. Now, there's this Christian thing, the rapture. And in the Christian mind, the rapture is where God takes all the Christians out of the world and they all disappear. And some of them express it as like they'll turn into light bodies and they'll shoot up into space to be spared the great tribulation. Just think about that for a moment. and recognize the absurdity of it. It's ridiculous. It's fantasy. The rapture is when you reach a point in your higher consciousness that the ego no longer exists. And your mind is just blank. But you know everything. Because at that stage of the game, you are the Son. And as the character Jesus said, I and the Father are one. And he also said, you are gods. So when you transcend the ego identity and you become more I am, then the I am and the Father are one. So you melt with the universe. The Father, the unified field, God, call it whatever you want. That's the rapture. That's what it's about. So what does that mean in real time? It means that you have the same consciousness as the universe, and yet you are still walking around amongst mankind. Emmanuel. It means God is with us. Do you understand? That's the rapture. It's that simple. God in the flesh. Ta-da! Just imagine what you would be capable of. Just fathom for a moment the responsibility that would come with something like that. Get your head around it. What would you do? We're back to that question again, aren't we? What will you do? Now, for some of you listening, you might think, right, okay, I'm kind of getting that. But he's telling us that we become the Father because we've overcome the ego and we've transcended the mind and the body, and it's an avatar, and the universe will be working through me. Yes, exactly. Ponder that. Think about it.